Michael, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you so much for having me on. I'm excited.
Absolutely. So, Michael, when you sent in your questionnaire, you have quite the resume there. And I think when I went to research it, you've been in over about 120 different films, television series, and that's not counting the theater work that you've done, as well as you're a singer. So, let me see if I get this straight: actor, producer, writer, singer, um, commercial work,
Uh-huh.
and you've done some print model
Yep.
and as well theatrical work. So, how do you find the time to enjoy life?
Oh gosh. Well, I don't find the time to enjoy life. Although I will say that I'm so lucky. I'm such a lucky person. I absolutely thoroughly enjoy what I do for work. So
Mhm.
what's that saying? Yeah, if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. It goes something like that.
Absolutely.
That is how
Absolutely.
I feel. I still to this day, and I'm like 96 years old. So I am still to this day like consumed by my work, but absolutely love what I do. So that's the way I like it. I don't have free time. I would love to take a vacation, um but I can't because I work, but I love what I do. So yeah.
Right, and you've done some pretty big things, right? Like you've been on Another World. You've had a film actually win at Cannes.
Yeah.
You've acted with some top A-listers out there, directors. Tell us a little bit about that. Like, how's that? Being on set, and um, is it any different, or just how's that?
Well, I'll start at the beginning and I'll try to be, I won't go on for like 2 hours. Um, so I started when I was a kid. I was born and raised in New York City. And I had one of those, incredibly supportive mothers. She was incredibly supportive. And so I don't know how this happened, but when I made the decision that I wanted to be an actor and singer, dancer, and all that junk, it happened at a very young age. I don't know where it came from. There was nobody in my family who was in performing arts in any way. Um, so it just kind of like I often think that maybe it was that I was reincarnated, that I was somebody else, an actor in a
Right,
previous life, right? And I brought it with
right.
me. So I started when I was a child actor. I started working professionally when I was very young in New York City. So again, because I'm 96 years old, I've had a lot of time to do a lot of things. Um, and I've gotten to work with some amazing people. Again, it started in New York, doing mostly theater. When I was in my mid 20s, I think is when I first came out to Los Angeles. And for many years, I was going back and forth between New York and Los Angeles. Because if you're a New Yorker, by the way, you never give up your apartment.
Right.
I don't
Yeah,
like.
especially now, right?
Oh my God. Well, now, in actual fact, I finally did some years ago end up giving up my New York apartment because New York is only for billionaires right now, um,
Right.
which is a shame. But so now I'm full time in Los Angeles after again having been going back and forth between New York and LA for many years. So I was doing a lot of theater in New York, and then I did TV. I did the soap Another World in New York. Came out here, wanting to do film and television, all of that stuff. So yeah, it's been a long time.
Yeah, so you actually did the West Side Story in New York, right?
I think I did my first West Side production of West Side Story in New York, and I think I was 19 years old. And there's a character in there called Baby John. He's sort of the youngest of the Jets, the
Mm-hmm.
gang members, the Jets. And so I ended
Right.
up doing West Side Story for easily 10 years, sort of all over the place. All over. I used to do summer stock, if people know what summer stock is, and then regional theaters. For easily 10 years, I did productions of West Side Story all over the place. Yeah. Always Baby John. I never got to play any other character.
So now you move out to LA to become an actor, or
Yeah.
and so I've interviewed some people on the show, and they've kind of talked about the challenges with going from theatrical to acting. Did you find it challenging to go to the two, or was it easier to go be an actor? I've heard some say it's easier to be an actor than it is to do theatrical. Now, those are their words, not mine. Just because, like in Broadway and stuff like that, I
Yeah.
mean, you don't have somebody that can say cut and give you the line and then say action and you do it again. I mean, you're right there in front of the crowd, and if you miss your line, I mean, I'm sure somebody might be whispering off stage, but tell us about that. How did you think it was easier? Did you and I mean, not taken away from either side, because I
Yeah.
know I can see it in your face. You're kind of like, but I mean, both of them are extremely challenging to do both, absolutely. But did you find one, more challenging? Let me ask it that way. Did you
Okay.
find one more
Yeah. I
challenging?
mean, definitely for me, they both come with their own set of challenges. Um,
Mm.
Theater, which is again where I started and my foundation, and I did theater, almost exclusively theater for probably about 20 years. Again, growing up because I started very young. And it's there's nothing like it. And I, by the way, I started doing musical comedy, musical theater. So, and I tend to have a big, loud personality just naturally. So, which works for the theater where you have to be big.
Right.
Um, but I'll get to that because that's definitely a transition. When you doing, when you have this big personality and you're doing theater, you have to do a whole different thing for film and television. Uh, but I'll get to that. So there was, I will tell you an example of something that happened to me. I was in a Broadway play once, and a play that I was in on Broadway, and forgot the I forgot the lines.
Mm.
Like I literally, it was a three-hander, meaning there were three people in the play, just the three of us, and
Right.
there was one scene with myself and another actor, um, very famous actor, in fact, named Sebastian Lacause. Somebody out there might know who he is. So we're doing the scene together, and I literally blanked. Like it was gone, and I stood there, and the other actor, Sebastian, he could tell what was happening. And so he
Mm.
quickly jumped in and tried to like help me, we started improvising some stuff, and he tried to like steer me back to where I was supposed to be. Um, but it was absolutely terrifying. And I remember so distinctly thinking that as I'm desperately trying to find the line, trying to find the lines, trying to find the lines. And I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm going to have to stop the show. I'm literally going to have to say, I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen, I can't remember my next line. We have to cancel the performance. Um, that's what I was thinking in my head. I was like, I don't know how I'm going to get out of this. And then again, in my mind, it was probably, I felt like it was probably me standing on stage freaking out for about 10 minutes. In reality, it
Right.
was probably about 15 seconds, but it,
Right.
it just felt like it went on forever. Again, Sebastian Lacause, he helped me, and it came back, but it is absolutely terrifying. Like you said, there was no one to whisper any lines to me off stage. Like we were there, and you just got to figure it out. Years later, when I studied improv, I went to Second City, the conservatory for improv, and I
Right.
wish I had done that earlier, because that, of course, then teaches you sort of figure out, well, if you're in a situation and you get screwed, just figure it out, do something,
Yeah. Just go with it. Right.
keep going, just make stuff up. Um,
Right.
and when I was in Second City, then it becomes sort of second nature. You just sort of like jump in. But anyway, so yeah, theater is always terrifying because you're always going to think, um, what if I forget the lines? What if I miss an entrance? Which I did another production. I was in a production of Annie somewhere in some summer stock somewhere, and I missed an entrance. And I mean, these things are absolutely terrifying for an actor. It is the worst thing you can possibly imagine. However, conversely, there's nothing better than doing theater.
Right.
There's nothing better. There's nothing more thrilling than doing theater. There's nothing for me personally more when I'm in a theater and I'm in a show and a musical or a play and I'm like really in it and it's happening and you're present and everything is working. Those are the moments where I think that there is a God. Where it's like
Right.
it's like it's almost a spiritual thing. Like I feel so connected to the universe and my purpose and all of that stuff. And that happens a lot for me in the theater. Rarely in front of a camera, because in the front of a camera it's a very different thing. Like you said, if I forget a line, I can just go, "Hey, can I call line, please?" And they give me the line, and then
Yeah.
we continue. I'm not saying that filmmaking is easy. It is absolutely not. But it is different, and it comes with its own set of challenges.
No, absolutely.
Hours, for
Now,
instance,
another,
like in the theater, for the by the your work, you start work at 7:30 at night, and you're done by 11 or 10:30, whatever it is. When you're making
right.
a movie or a TV show, I work at minimum 12-hour days, sometimes 14, sometimes 16 hours a day. It's tough.
Yeah. Now, was Another World, when you did that, was it in front of a live audience? Like, have you done any shows or movies in front of a live audience?
Another World
Probably
was
not a
a
movie, but
yeah. I have, but Another World was a soap opera that shot in New York City back in the day. It is long gone. I believe at the time, Another World was the longest running soap on television.
I
Um,
remember it.
and I
Yeah.
think the second one was Guiding Light. And so after Another World finally got canceled, I think the longest running show became Guiding Light. But Another World, it was on NBC,
Hmm.
and I was on it for 1 year.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
uh, they do you I don't know if you ever watched soap operas, but
Oh,
I think
yeah.
it's still on. It's
Yeah.
called General Hospital, right?
Yeah. General Hospital, Days of Our Lives. Oh, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I think General Hospital is still on. Yes.
Yeah, it
So
is. Both of them,
okay,
actually. Yeah.
so we were on Another World was on opposite General Hospital, which was deadly
Okay.
because at the time
Right.
General Hospital was the biggest thing on the planet Earth,
Oh, yeah.
and there was Luke and Laura. Those were the big Luke and
Hmm.
Laura. Those were the big characters on General Hospital. And in fact, there was a moment when Elizabeth Taylor was actually on General Hospital. If anybody remembers that, Liz Taylor was an actual actor working on General Hospital for about a year. And so we were on opposite General Hospital and huge in the ratings, and Another World was bombing, like dying a slow death. And so I think they got a bunch of younger people. I was probably in my early 20s, but I was playing a teenager. And they
Right.
got a bunch of young people to sort of like rev up the show a little bit and get some, young blood in there.
Mm.
But long story short, it never really worked. Anne Heche was on there when I was
Okay.
there. If we remember Anne Heche, the lovely Anne Heche, who was amazing.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and so it never really worked. So in soaps, at least back then, you had a 3-year contract, and they had the right to after the first year they could keep you for the next 2 years or get rid of you. So after the first year, they basically got rid of most of us, most of these young kids that they brought in, because it never really
Right.
worked. They never could figure out what to do with us. But no, that was not in front of a live audience. That was in a studio, and and again, that was one of those situations where this was before cell phones and before laptops and all that stuff. And they used to messenger your script to you the night before.
Oh,
And
wow.
right, so you'd get a
Yeah.
script in a big manila envelope that sometimes was 60 pages. And you had to know your lines at 7 o'clock the next morning when you were on set. So that was an incredibly exciting and terrifying um, experience, but also a great education because it still to this day I use that training. It trained my mind, my brain, how to like memorize lines real quick. Um,
Right.
so that was not in front of a soap opera. I've done like guest spots and like stuff like that on sitcoms where you do film in front of a live audience. Uh, So, but mostly my live audience stuff was in the theater.
So live audience for television shows or sitcoms, like, is that just as stressful as theater, or I mean, with everybody staring at you, and I
It's
mean, certainly
definitely
if you're,
stressful.
yeah,
Although, I mean, you can screw up. You know, I was definitely on some sitcoms where people screwed up, and you start laughing a lot. And and they stop, and then they go back and they continue. But you are in fact doing it in front of a live audience, and you don't want to screw up, especially if you're like me. If you're doing like a guest spot, um, or a co-star, like on a sitcom, you want to do a good job because you think, oh my god, like if I mess up, no one's ever gonna hire me again.
yeah,
Um, so there's definitely stress for sure, and there's a limited time. You got to get stuff done. I was on one sitcom once where it wasn't me, thank God, but the actors just kept like because they were kept laughing at the material, and
right.
it went all night. We were this audience. I think the studio audience finally left. It
Oh
got so
wow,
late, and we just kept
yeah,
shooting because it just went well into the night. Um, those things happen. So again, you can screw up in television and film, but you don't want to.
yeah. Now you've transitioned into movies and acting, and so tell us about the film. I mean, at Cannes Film Festival. How was that? Were you there, or how was that?
I was there, although I'm sorry. I had one film that was part of the Cannes Film Festival, and
Hmm.
I wasn't there. I wasn't there the year my film
Okay,
was playing there. I was there
right.
actually this past year. I was there because I wrote a screenplay, and I entered my screenplay into a competition and I won. And so we had a reading of my screenplay with a bunch of actors at the Cannes Film Festival. So it is a wild place. It is absolutely bananas. Like everybody in the world is there in this tiny little
Right.
place.
Yeah.
For 2 weeks. I was there for 1 week, I think. And literally you're just walking down the street and there's Tom Cruise comes up and says hi, and then Kate Blanchett waves, and like, and you're having dinner next to Sigourney Weaver or whoever it is, like
Mhm.
it is absolutely bananas, and it's so many people, and there's no sleep happening because um I was so excited to be there that whenever there wasn't something that I actually had to be doing, you go out. I was out having dinner, having lunch, having
Right.
breakfast, and go to the beach, and like you go dancing, you go partying and dancing until like 5 in the morning. It was absolutely insane. But I loved every second of it. Yeah,
Now, are we going to see that screenplay anytime soon into a feature, or?
that's a great question. Um, let's see. I don't know how to answer that. I hope so. It
Mhm.
is right now. It's a project that's very personal to me. It took me about
Mhm.
3 years to write, and it is right now. It's in the hands of a Swiss producer who seems to be interested. But we shall see.
Nice. Well, best of luck on that. I know that
Thank you.
that's, yeah, that's always the waiting game is yeah, can be nerve-wracking, but yeah,
Years. I mean, literally,
that's pretty
sometimes
cool.
it takes years and years and years, not just to write the thing,
Oh,
but then to
absolutely.
like get it out there into the world, and then find somebody who's willing to put up money and to do it, and then shoot it, and then the whole thing. Years.
Yeah, yeah. My first screenplay I wrote 3.5 years ago now. Yeah, I think I've changed it probably
Yeah.
now 40 times.
Sure.
It's a labor of love, but it's in some hands, and you're right. We'll see what happens. Now
Yeah.
you've
That's
been
what.
on. Go ahead.
Oh, that's what they say, that writing is rewriting. So you write the thing
Right.
and then you spend the next 4 years rewriting it. Yeah.
Yeah, and what's so interesting too is you get one producer that'll tell you, well, you need to tweak here, here, and here, and you send it to another producer, and they're like, well, I like it this way. And so, yeah, it's very challenging, absolutely, to get that fine line. Yeah, I submitted a couple of pitches,
Yeah.
and one producer said, pitch it this way, breadcrumb me. because I want to be able to want to read the script. And then another producer's like, okay, I want to know, is there action scenes, what's going to happen, what you're looking for. And I mean, so yeah, it's just that fine line between them. Now you've been on Amazon, Tubi, Prime. Well, Amazon is Prime, Netflix,
Yes.
any big prod, and 34 vertical films. I was looking at that. So how are the vertical films? I know that's the up and coming thing. I mean, especially with a lot of people, I think what a lot of people don't, well, the viewers out there, of course, do, because everybody now is watching it on their phone. But some people are not as hip on the vertical films. What do you think? I mean,
Uh,
I've had one actor tell me I will not do a vertical film, and then 34 of them. So I mean, how do you like them?
well, maybe I can ask you, like, why did that person say they didn't want to do them?
Well, word of mouth. Yeah, it was just word of mouth that vertical films are not the way to go, and
Well, look,
they're kind of, yeah.
we're in an industry now that unfortunately, to be completely honest with you, is dying a very slow death.
Mm,
It started around, it started with COVID, and there aren't a whole lot of, I believe there are not a whole lot of options right now. The verticals again started in China because of due to COVID. That's how that's what somebody, they came up with this during COVID because no one was going to the movie theaters. Um, and I mean, within like 3 years, 4 years now, it is a billion-dollar industry, billions
yeah.
with a B. And there is a ton of work in them. I think people who maybe a few years ago were saying things like, "Oh no, don't do verticals because or they're terrible and you're going to mess up your brand and all that stuff." I absolutely think uh, that is no longer the case. They are everywhere now. Again, it is a billion-dollar industry. You see, so let's explain what verticals are. It's like it's literally like shooting a movie or a television series, except people watch it on their phone and they're shot vertically so that people
Mhm.
can watch it on the phone. And you'll do. I mean, I did one that was a full 2 hour movie, which was called Game of Choice, and
Mhm.
or they take it and they chop them up into like 50 or 60 episodes that are like anywhere from 3 to 5 minutes, something like that. Um, It is a ton of work. It goes very fast. Um, I mean, they have, now they have budgets of like into the millions. The big one I did again, which is called Game of Choice. Um, they spent a lot of money, like millions of dollars, on this thing. So I believe it's out here. They're out here and they're here to stay, at least for the time being. And there's not a whole lot of other work, especially here in Los Angeles. Um, and we all know, if we have been following, like I still read the trades every day. Um, if you're following this stuff, like there's just no work. You know,
Right.
there's not a whole lot of shows being shot here in Los Angeles anymore. If there are shows being shot, they're shot in other cities, in other countries, in Europe. Um, they're, you know, studios now, we're doing this whole thing where the Saudis are buying Warner Brothers, and it's all of these studios are completely falling apart. Box office receipts are terrible right now. Um, there's just no work. There's a mass exodus out of Los Angeles over the last few years. Los Angeles has become one of those cities where people can no longer afford to live, like New York City. So people are leaving, and so the work is leaving. The work is gone, and the verticals are here, and they there are a lot of them, and they pay money, and I like to eat. You know, my
Yeah.
landlord really appreciates it when I pay the rent. So I got no problem with the verticals. And the truth is, they might have been a little clunky when they first started a few years ago. but they have quickly gotten a whole lot better.
Yeah.
Um,
And what's funny is too, with even with this show, like I'll take this. We've been going 25 minutes, and so whatever we end with, I mean, I might take this 25 minutes and chop it into 2 minute segments. And what's funny is even with this show, the vertical, because it chops it into verticals for YouTube.
yeah,
I mean, they're getting 2,000, 3,000 views. And I mean, it's a new show. So, I mean, I'm happy with that, right? I mean, it was 1 or 2 years ago and now it's up. And so, but yeah, I mean, it's just those little shorts are what people are watching. They get the idea. And then, if they want to watch it, they can continue. And, I mean, so yeah, I mean, everybody picks up their phones and is watching them. So, I
yeah,
absolutely agree with you on that. They're
yeah. I mean,
done.
if you look at the numbers, I mean, people are watching them into the millions. These things get
Yeah,
millions and millions of views. Um, and I do some that get like literally like will get 30 million views in a few days.
right.
So people are watching them and people are paying for them. So I feel like they're completely and utterly legit.
Okay. So, then what? Yeah, and I mean, as far as like the mass exodus, I mean, you're right about that. I mean, it is getting challenging out there. I mean, especially I'm on the East Coast, and so we hear out here. I mean, Marvel has pulled out of Atlanta.
Yep.
Netflix has pulled out of Atlanta to go build their facility in New Jersey, and
Yep.
Marvel actually went to London.
Right.
So if I'm listening to the show and I'm 20 years old and I'm thinking, oh my word, well, I thought I wanted to be an actor. I mean, what advice would you give somebody that's young and listening to the show? And, I mean, what advice would you give them?
I think that that's a really tough question. I don't know. Like right now, again, I've been doing this forever. Um, I'm not sure what I would say exactly to an actor right now. I feel like it is much more difficult, and it was not easy for me back in the day, but I just feel like it is much more difficult now. Um, I mean, for acting in general, if I were to give advice to a young actor, I would absolutely say give the same advice that was given to me back in the day, which is study. I'm a big
Mm.
proponent of going to class. I like going to class. I'm still in class right now to this day. Um,
Right.
uh, Even after again being doing this for a million years, I like going to class. I think it's the greatest thing. Um, so I would absolutely go to tell people to go to class. I tell actors all the time, young actors who I work with, I'm shocked at how many movies they haven't seen, like classic movies. I tell people to watch movies. I tell people to go to the theater, and I tell actors to read plays. It's astonishing to me how many actors don't read plays now. Um, and I also think that in some ways this bit is a little easier. Back in the day, auditioning was a nightmare, but now you can do everything online. You have all these different websites. You have Actors Access, and you have casting networks, and all these places where you can go and you can submit yourself. Like back in the day,
Right.
we couldn't do that. I was an actor. I had to have an agent, and I had to have a manager, and they did all that stuff. And we literally back in New York when I first started out, we would go out. You'd leave the house in the morning, and you would just walk around town, and you'd go to all the different agencies, and you'd hand them a picture and a
Right.
resume, and you'd beg for an audition for something. If you heard something was casting somewhere, you ran to the casting office and you begged for an audition, or you went to the equity building. And you got on a list and you waited 7 hours until till they called you in and you could audition for 30 seconds. Um, like right now, that whole part is definitely easier because you can sit home and you can submit yourself to all kinds of things. So I would say get online, go to those sites, submit yourself for everything. Do as many self tapes as you possibly can do. Um, get a setup. I'm in my setup right now. I have a backdrop and I have the light and I have the phone and I have
Right.
all that stuff and I self tape every day still. Um, uh, so I guess that's what I would say to a young actor. And if you're in Los Angeles, um, I think my my advice to anybody if it would be if see, this is why I think I'm still around and why I'm still working, because I never gave up. I never quit.
Mm,
Everybody who I came up with a bunch of other child actors, and we were all, I would see all the same child actors all the time at auditions all the time. I used to see Cynthia Nixon and Sarah Jessica Parker at auditions all the time.
right.
So we all knew each other back in the day. Um, but I guess if I would say that if this is what you have to do, if this is really what you love to do, and you really, really love it, then just do whatever you possibly can. Do whatever you have to do in order to like stay in the game. Don't give up. Don't quit. Because everybody I came up with, they quit. And I feel like part of why I was able to get work was because I hung around.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, that was the advice I gave one person too, because they were running. Well, they were moving to. It was either going to be they were looking to move to New York or they were looking to move to Atlanta, and they were in a small town. And my advice to them was wait, because they were coming into the industry and they were, they'd gone to classes, and I was like, you just need to stay right where you can afford, because once you get to Atlanta, New York, I mean, your rent's doubled, I mean, you're just extraordinary prices, and for apartments and stuff like that. And so you're right. I mean, now everything is self-tape, and actors access. I mean, my phone buzzes all the time with parts that are coming over, and emails from backstage, and just all of those. So yeah. um Now, we were talking a little. Go ahead, you had a
Oh, I
thought.
was just going to say, I think a lot of actors in Los Angeles, because of COVID and because of this new idea of self-taping, realized that in fact they did not have to live in Los Angeles. They could go back to where they're from. They could go back to, New Mexico or Arizona or Oklahoma or wherever, Texas, wherever it happens to be, and they could self-tape as much as I'm self-taping here in Los Angeles. And if they get a job, then they just somehow figure out how to get themselves on a plane or get in their car and drive to Los Angeles and do the job.
Right.
And in the meantime, you're paying maybe a third of the rent that you were paying in Los Angeles.
Right. Absolutely. Now, earlier we were talking. The show is called "Missing the Shift,"
Yeah.
and it's kind of it's kind of about mistakes that you may have made, and how you came back from those. And so you had a thought on that. So
Oh,
I'm gonna give the floor to you on have you missed any shifts in your life and had to come back from them?
right. Yes, is the answer to that question. I've made a gazillion mistakes in in my life. Um, you know, I remember like early on, I turned down roles that were absolutely ridiculous for me to turn down. I turned down jobs. There were certain things that I wasn't willing to do, and stuff like that. Um, and this is my feeling about this whole sort of idea in general right now. The idea of mistakes. The sort of conclusion that I have come to in my life is that I am incredibly happy right now as a person, as a human being, as an actor. I'm incredibly happy with what I'm able to bring to a project. Um, I'm healthy. I'm emotionally healthy. I'm mentally healthy. I'm physically healthy. I'm at a really, really, really good place in my life, and I just I don't have any of those insecurities that I used to have when I was younger. Um,
Mhm.
I have a vast expanse of knowledge, I think. And I would not have those things. I would not be in the place that I am if I didn't make a tremendous amount of mistakes on the way here. So,
Right.
if that's the case, then I remember when this hit me some years ago that, oh, there's no such thing as a mistake. These were not mistakes. These were just lessons. These were lessons that I had to learn, and sometimes I had to learn them over and over and over again. Um, all of that stuff, everything I did, every bad relationship that I was in, every horrible person who I dated, like everything, it all got me to this place right here and gave me the knowledge that I have right now.
Mm.
So there was not one mistake in any of it. In fact, they were all gifts. I was given all of these gifts as a way of figuring out my life. And sometimes it takes a long time. I think with human beings, it takes a long time. Life is way too short. Um, but I don't know that I would go back honestly and change any of it. There are certain things I
Right.
would. I regret, sometimes when I've treated a person badly, let's say, I've said something that was hurtful.
Mm,
Those things I would want to take back. But in the big
yeah.
picture, I have not missed a shift.
Yeah, I've said that myself too. Like three, actually, yeah, 3 years ago, my father died, and he had Alzheimer's, and he was able to function, but he would forget little things, and like you said, if I could do one thing, I might go back and answer those questions that he would ask day after day a little differently than because it's tough with an Alzheimer patient not to get frustrated. And yeah, so I would agree with you on that. It's kind of like your mistakes are what you learn from. And that's the whole premise behind the show is, okay, I mean, I could have took the mistakes I made and gone 25 different directions and gave up and said, hey, I'm never going in business again. It's just not for me. I'm gonna work for somebody the rest of my life. And so I would agree with you. I mean, absolutely. I mean, and so with that, I mean, I would say, the only thing I would give advice on is, research what you're going to do, right? I mean, there are people out there that might want to be an actor or an actress, and hey, let's run to LA, right? Let's go. And there's so many different areas that you can go now that, and like we were talking about, right? So I would agree with you absolutely. Mistakes are things that you learn from instead of letting them keep you down.
Yeah, I too, I had a parent with Alzheimer's, and my mother, and let me tell you, it is the hardest thing in the world to be a caretaker,
Yeah.
especially for an Alzheimer's patient. And my poor, sweet, dear, wonderful mother suffered for years with that, and it is incredibly difficult. But I will also add one more thing. Um, as far as like doing research and stuff, I think it is important to be educated and
Right.
to know stuff. But I also think I'm going to add one thing to this as well. I think it is equally as important to take a risk.
Oh, absolutely.
I think fear sucks. Fear is a terrible thing. And if
Right.
you can learn to live and be fearless, and not fearless, but like have the fear but still do stuff anyway, then I think you've really done something great with your life. Um, jump in.
Yeah,
And
what's
if
that
the
saying? Go
Go
ahead.
ahead.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, no, no. Go ahead. What's
Yeah,
the
what's
saying?
that saying? Just that people say, just jump, right? Just go
Oh,
for it. I
yeah.
mean, yeah.
I mean, I honestly think obviously you want to be, you don't want to, you don't want to come to Los Angeles and then live in a box on the street, but
Hmm.
I also think if you have to be willing, this was a big thing for me. You have to be willing to accept the circumstances of the choices that you make, the consequences, excuse me, the consequences of the choices you make. Like for many years, I didn't live like a glamorous life, while all my friends, were, buying houses and had jobs and had, pensions and had, money in the bank and all that stuff. And I'm still, eating ramen noodles and stuff like that. I was willing to accept that because I had made the choice that this is what I wanted to do. And
Right.
if it was going to take a long time, that's what it was going to take a long time. And if I have to miss out on other things, that's fine. Um, so yeah, fearless or walking through the fear, I think, is an important thing to know or to be willing or able to do.
Right. Now, how do you like to give back? Let's say charities, or how do you give back?
Uh I mean, well, charity. I just did this huge thing, in fact, for the last month or so with the Elton John AIDS Foundation, because yesterday was the World AIDS Day,
Hmm. I saw
and
you post about that, right?
I did. You know, you grow up in New York City in the '80s. I think I was 18. I was an 18-year-old man, boy. I was an 18-year-old boy when they first when they diagnosed the first AIDS cases in New York City. Um,
Mm.
so this has been something, and you know, when you're in the arts in New York City and you're a teenager, um, like it was one of those things where the whole everyone was devastated. The whole industry was devastated. The
Right.
whole art community in New York City was devastated. So I still to this day do things with AIDS charities and different AIDS foundations. That's a big one for me.
Hmm.
I'm also possibly to my detriment, although I don't feel that way. I am super political. Um, so I spend much of my time. I spend much of my time uh, doing whatever I possibly can to get fascism out of the United States of America and to get rid of the current administration. Um,
Now that one I didn't know because like I don't see you post on that a lot. So that one I didn't know. So you yeah, okay.
I I
Um
I try
go
when I
ahead.
do. I will tell you when I'm on Instagram. If anybody wants to come find me on Instagram, I'm there. But when I do post, you know, political stuff on Instagram, I tend to lose a lot of followers, which is fine. That's fine. People can disagree with me all they want. But I think it's super important to be informed, well informed. Um, you know, when I was a kid in the public school system, they used to teach civics and they used to teach American history. I don't know what they
Mm.
teach now. I'm like one of those old guys now. Like, what are they teaching the kids in the school? Um, but
They don't
like,
even give them homework. What are you talking about?
oh
Like
God,
we had to carry a stack of books home, right? Now they're just let's take my
hours
Chromebook home. Yeah, I mean
hours of
I've got
homework.
a
Yeah, yeah.
17-year old and a yeah.
I feel like, you know, to be apathetic or be apolitical right now is really a terrible, terrible thing. So I spend a lot of time at rallies and protest marches, and I'm a proud member of the Socialist Party. um, so I do a lot of that politically. As far as like when actors go, I teach actually. I teach
Hmm.
in a bunch of different classes, which is absolutely thrilling. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Um,
Nice. So
yeah.
now are you I know you're producing and directing. So are you like leaning towards moving over to producing and directing and writing, or are you loving acting to where that's your first love? And because you see a lot of actors nowadays, they're producing and they're doing some writing, and then you've got some that are directing for the first time and they're expanding that. Um, are you just dabbling in it, or will we see? I know you've got the one that you wrote, but is that kind of like a new love to write and produce and direct?
So yeah, I will never give up acting, by the way. So that's yeah, because that gives me a tremendous amount of joy. So, but a few years
Right.
ago, I had this idea, and it turned into a screenplay, and it was an absolutely amazing experience. And I use the word
Yeah.
amazing very specifically because I was amazed by the entire experience of it. I had an experience
Right.
writing this screenplay that was sort of like I did it, I guess, apparently differently from other writers or most other writers, maybe. Um, that I did not. I just had this sort of kernel seed of an idea, and
Hmm.
I sat down and started writing. I did not have an outline. I did not know where my story was going to go. I did not have a beginning and a middle and an end. I did not know who the characters were. I just sat down in front of my laptop and I started writing. It was almost as if the screenplay was channeled. Like the story ended up telling itself
Mm.
to me as I was
Yeah.
writing it. And every time I would write a different scene, I would go back and I would read it, and I was like, oh my god, I can't believe that this is a story, and I did not know what the next scene was going to be or the next scene. So that was thrilling, and in fact, um, one day it just stopped. Like I didn't know what was going to happen next. And
Oh
I
wow.
put it away. I put the screenplay away for probably about, I don't know, 6 months, until one morning. It was literally 3 o'clock in the morning, and I jumped out of bed because I knew what the next scene was. And I started writing.
Hmm.
Um, so, and I didn't know how it was going to end. Um, and so that was an absolutely awe-inspiring experience for me. So once that was done, that screenplay was done. The same thing happened again. I wrote a second one, and then I wrote a third one.
Oh
Um,
nice.
and I will tell you that also some years ago, the same thing happened. I wrote a pilot episode of a TV series, a
Hmm.
sitcom.
Right.
I wrote the pilot episode, and again, I loved it so much that I didn't just want to like have it sit in a desk somewhere, whatever. So I kept writing, and I ended up writing the first season of this sitcom.
Hmm.
And again, once that was over, I thought, well, I can't just let it sit here. And I tried to like pitch it
Yeah.
to some networks and stuff, and I tried to get
Hmm.
people interested in it, and I couldn't get anyone interested in it. I couldn't even get a meeting. And so I ended up producing it myself.
Oh
Very long
nice.
story, which it's not short anymore, but um, so I ended up producing it myself, and it's on Amazon Prime. So it's called Child of the '70s,
Okay.
and it's a
Yeah.
sitcom. We ended up Once it got on Amazon, we ended up doing 5 seasons of it,
Oh
and
nice. I'll have to.
it's a sitcom, and it's sort of done in the style of a 1970s sitcom, which is when I grew up watching
Hmm.
television, and um and it's sort of a parody of, but also like a sort of a loving homage to sitcoms from the 1970s. And the best part about it was that after it was picked up by Amazon, we got I got a bunch of people, actual TV stars from the 1970s, to be in it. So
Oh
I got all
nice.
of these amazing people in it. Like I can rattle off a bunch of names. Susan Olsen, who played Cindy Brady on The Brady Bunch, she's in it. Um,
Okay.
Ted Lange, who was Isaac the bartender on The Love Boat, he's in it. Um, Donna Pescow, who was in Saturday Night Fever, and she was also Angie on the TV series Angie. She's in it. Lynn Marie Stewart, who was Miss Yvonne on Pee Wee's Playhouse. She's in it. Um, uh, Nina Hecht, who was on Mork and Mindy. She's in it. Um, Randy Jones, who was the original cowboy in The Village People, he's in it. Amy Linker, who was on Square Pegs, she's in it. Judy Tenuta is in it. Bruce Valanche is in it. All these people who I grew up absolutely like in love with. Ann Walker, who's she's in it. She was in Sordid Lives. Um, so
Okay.
I got to work with
Hmm.
all of these people who I grew up sort of idolizing. And
Yeah.
I wrote and produced 5 seasons of it, and I'm in it. I star in it, and it's on Amazon Prime.
That is very nice. I'll have to look at it. Yeah, because I grew up
Please
watching them
do.
too. But you kind of write like I do, so don't think you write strangely. Because like
Okay.
my first screenplay, like I just started writing because it was an outlet for my dad passing, and I sent it to she's an actress and a Vietnamese director, Australian actress, director, producer. And she called me up, or she said, "Hey, can you meet on Zoom?" And she's like, "Do you have $100 million in the bank?" And I'm like, "No." And she's like, "Well, that's what you've written." Because I mean, I had it on a yacht, and I had the Coast Guard come in, and then it went from New York to L.A. to London, and I'm just like, I was like you. I just wrote, right? I mean, didn't really, have a rhyme or reason, or just was just writing. So yeah, that's awesome. But yeah, I'll have to write that. Um, well, we appreciate you being on the show. Any last minute tips you'd like to give, or
Oh gosh, tips. Well, again, go to class, read a play, watch a classic movie, watch something with Marlon Brando in it. You would be shocked to know how many young actors don't know who Marlon Brando was. Um,
uh,
I grew up, watching Al Pacino and Robert De Niro and and Jane Fonda, and all of these amazing Robert Duvall, all these amazing, amazing James Caan actors. Like I felt so inspired by watching amazing actors do their art. Go to see a play. Go to see as many plays as you can. Read plays. Plays are free now. You can get plays, find plays online. You can read them, and go to a class and do a scene study. That's what I would
Yeah, I've
tell.
got a guy. Go ahead. And I'm sorry.
No, no, no. Go ahead.
You go ahead. Yeah, I've got a guy who I'm helping him film a movie, and he's been on the podcast, and that's where he got his cast and part of his crew for his first movie, and it's won 8 awards now, and he shot it local with theater cast and crew from the local theater. So, yeah, absolutely, that's great advice. Um, and certainly, we'll put the links on the website of where they can find you, and yeah, you can find him on Prime and Netflix and Tubi and all of those, and
I have a bunch of movies
you
on
know,
Tubi, yeah. But come find me on Instagram. Say hi.
yeah, and you have a bunch of are now the verticals, are they all on, like, are they on Netflix, and where can they find the verticals? Because I saw a bunch of those when I was looking through your
That's
bits.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like I was saying, like this is an industry that is absolutely exploding. So what you have to do is like you have to download apps. And so now there are a ton of apps that, you know, it's like say, oh, it's like downloading Netflix, but it's a vertical. There are tons of different apps now, and I work for all of them. So yeah, if you Google me, or if you go to my IMDb page, you can see a list of all of them, and you can find all the apps. And if anybody's interested in watching, you can go watch. And one in particular, which I've mentioned it a couple times already, it's called Game of Choice. Right now, it seems to be the biggest vertical out there. They spent a ton of money. It's very similar to Squid Game, and
Okay.
it's been doing tremendously well. And a core group of actors in it who are all spectacular. We're all super super proud of it, and that's on
Yeah,
an
and
app called
we
All Flicks. Yeah,
all flicks. Okay, we'll
Tall
put a
Flicks.
link to that because what is it?
It's called Tall Flicks. Tall.
All flicks. Okay,
Yeah, yeah,
we'll put a link to that because yeah, I posted the trailer for that you had posted a few
yeah.
times, and the trailer looks phenomenal.
We had
So yeah, we'll
we had a
post a
we had
link
the
to
very
that.
first
And
yeah, we had the very first vertical live premiere here in Hollywood. Is in an actual movie theater. We screened the entire thing for a full audience, and it's been getting tremendous reviews. I'm super proud of it.
awesome. Now for the big theater, did they change it to from vertical to fit the screen,
Nope, we
or did
watched
they have
vertically on a gigantic screen.
watched it vertically?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah, I was just curious because I've taken the big, and edit it to be a vertical
yes.
for that, but I was curious if they did it the other way.
I have worked for different companies, different apps who are doing that. They shoot it horizontally just like a regular feature, and then they crop it.
Yeah, that's kind of tough. I mean, I'm sure there's editors out there that can do it, but I mean, I was using DaVinci, and it's kind of tough to keep everything
Yep,
what you want in there by
yep.
doing it that way. So, if it was me, I'd prefer to shoot it vertical. But hey, you know,
It's tricky,
um,
but yeah, they do
yeah,
it.
awesome. Well, Michael, we will post everything that we've talked about on our website. We certainly appreciate you being on the show,
My
and
pleasure.
yeah, best of luck with everything that's going on, and we'll look for you in the future.
Thank you very much. Happy holidays to you and to everybody out there who's watching. Yeah, thanks.
All right, same to you, Michael.